Okay, folks, this is Jessica and Tom back again. This week we've decided to talk a little bit about getting backyard chickens. There's a lot of interest right now in terms of the COVID-19 situation. A lot of folks trying to get backyard chickens. Hatcheries that sell these things are backed up for weeks at a time trying to get all the orders filled. You know, you go to the co-op, you go to Tractor Supply, wherever, they're always short on chicks. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to put that situation together and how to think through this operation. First, be aware, there's a reason that y'all don't have backyard chickens right now. Before you jump into it, what is that reason? Why have you not got them before? Is it the expense? Is it your job? Is it the time? Yeah, right now you may have a little bit of free time to work with, but again, down the road, 6 months from now, a year from now, are you still going to be as committed? Can you spend time with your chickens? Chickens are work. You know, they're a living creature. They've got to be taken care of every day. So there's things that they're going to demand from you. Some of it's going to cost you some time. Some of it's going to cost you some money. So be aware that you know what you're getting into. And that's what we want to try to help you with today, so that you do know exactly what you're getting into. You know, there's a lot of panic buying going on right now. A lot of folks going out and probably buying more than what they need because they're a little bit worried about the next time they go to the store there might not be anything on the shelf. So be aware of that kind of stuff, but also be aware that there's really not a shortage of meat and eggs in this country right now. There is a shortage of how we're managing the logistical part of it in terms of getting it from the farm to the store. But there's plenty of meat out there. There's plenty of cattle in feedlots. There's plenty of chickens on farms. There's plenty of hogs on farms.
You don't have to grow your own.
That's right. So be aware of that.
It's a fun hobby, but you don't have to.
It is a fun hobby, but it's going to cost you some money if you get into that. So be aware of that. And it's going to cost you some time. So there are things that you have to worry about down the line that you might not be thinking of right this second. But be aware of that. You're going to have to devote some time. You're going to have to devote some money to do it. You're also going to have to be aware of environmental issues, odor, flies, all these kind of things, noise if you've got roosters. And again, there's guidelines on whether you can have roosters or not if you're inside city limits. Some of them allow it, some of them do not. Roosters crow. Roosters are never going to lay you an egg. So be aware of all of these little things that you may not have to have thought about just yet, but they are important in how you have to deal with this. Not to mention your neighbors. How are they going to like it if you get backyard chickens or don't get backyard chickens? So basically from that, I'm going to turn it over to Jessica and she can go into a little bit more detail. If you're bound and determined and committed, this is what you want to do, we're here to help you do just that.
Okay. So, like Tom said, chickens do take some commitment. I will say of all your livestock that you can choose from, this is definitely going to probably be the less committed livestock. They are going to be cheaper. They're going to be a little less time and maintenance, and they won't require as much room and space. So if you think about those things and you do want to start a hobby and maybe potentially get your kids interested in something and give them that responsibility, this is a good option. But keep in mind, they still take a commitment, they still take time and money. So don't jump off into anything right off the limb. Let's think things through and really start this project out the correct way. So if we're going to get started with our backyard flock, first things first, just like Tom mentioned, there are usually all city ordinances. If you do live in the city limits, you can still maintain a flock, but you need to check that city ordinance on what those requirements are. Most cities require that no roosters be on the property, that only hens, and a certain amount of hens, or a max, can be kept. And that's due to that noise. Roosters make noise, and in all reality, if you're doing this as a hobby, there's really no need in a rooster. Hens are still going to lay eggs without that rooster. A rooster usually gets dominant, and especially if you have small kids, they're just not necessary. They cause more problems than they do anything else. So now that we've decided to get our flock, let's think about purchasing and what to do. It is a lot of fun to go out to all these swaps and flea markets and things like that and look at all the chickens. However, we need to think about where we're purchasing from and the importance of keeping our flock safe and healthy. So just like anything else, if you don't really know the source or where it's coming from, you need to take caution, okay? We recommend that you purchase from an NPIP certified hatchery. There are tons of these out there and online. We can always answer your questions on where to find those sources and help you find a good one that suits your needs. They will ship chicks in the mail. So whether the mail carriers like it or not, you can actually get those chickens sent straight to your door, and they come in a box ready to go, and you can start your flock. So I would recommend looking into those NPIP certified hatcheries. If you want to buy local within your state, the Board of Animal Health can give you a list of people that do hatch chicks and will sell those that are certified and tested through them, so that you can make sure that your flock is clean, especially if you already have chickens on your property. You definitely don't want to have pets that you're now bringing in new onto your flock and potentially risking the health of that flock. We don't want to see you lose any of your birds. We want to keep those safe. Once we get our chicks, we're now going to provide them with a safe environment, and we're going to grow them up. Obviously, if we're going to spend money, we don't want you to waste any of that money. We don't want you to lose your chicks. We want you to keep those things, and then for them to provide for you. So, with that being said, I get a lot of questions, and I'm sure Tom does too, on how to build a perfect chicken coop. You can go on the internet and find plans for anything under the sun that you want to build. I will say, from my experience, go cheap. Use something that you have at home. Now, if you want to go out and build the Taj Mahal, go for it. You can do it.
You can do that. Yep.
You can spend all you want to spend on a chicken coop. The main thing to consider is, let's make sure they have enough space. I would say at a minimum you need 3 to 4 square feet per bird, and that's going to vary on what variety of bird you get. Some are more aggressive than others, and in a different video we'll get into that and what breeds to select. But make sure you have enough room. When you first get those chicks, they need a heat source. You need to keep them heated. Most people will keep them in a garage or potentially inside until they get a little bigger. They need to be 90 degrees at floor level. So when we start those chicks, we need them not 90 degrees where you feel 90 degrees, but 90 degrees where they feel it, okay? And we're gonna decrease that a couple of degrees each week until they reach about 70 degrees. And at that point, they're probably ready to go outside and utilize a bigger space that doesn't have that same heat source that you started with. When we think about that pen and building that pen, the size, the dimensions, how you build it doesn't really matter, but we need to keep these safe. Everything eats a chicken.
That's right.
Everything.
They're prey animals.
They are prey animals. So you need to think about that. We don't necessarily just need to protect them at ground level, but also a little higher in the middle and from above. You've got flight predators. Hawks will come any time of the day and eat those chickens. Snakes will get in there. Small rodents, dogs and cats, your family pets will eat your chickens. So we need to make sure we keep them safe. When you choose your wire or whatever you're going to encompass that cage with, think about the small and the large animals that could potentially come into that coop. They are at their most prone time when they lay and when they roost. So when we build nest boxes, you need to make sure that the back of that nest box is solid, because there's a lot of those predators that can reach through those pens and get your chickens. So think about all these things when you start to make that coop. You'll need a nest box. If you have hens, you can usually say 4 hens to each nest box. You don't need a nest box for each one of them. If you build a nest box for each hen, they're all going to sit in one, and you'll have a lot of them wasted. So think about that. And then once you do get your chickens started, we need to think about feed and water. Water should be available to chickens all the time. Chickens are always thirsty.
Yes.
And they need a good, clean water source. Tom probably sees a lot more in commercial houses. If you have a poor water source, you will see drastic effects on those chickens. it can really affect that flock. So make sure your water source stays clean and they have water all the time. You can feed ad libitum if you'd like. You can also feed on a schedule. It's completely up to you, but you need to make sure that they have a balanced diet. As much fun as it is to throw scraps out there and the chicken scratch and all that kind of thing, you need to make sure that they get a balanced diet, especially if you want them to produce product for you like eggs. So we recommend going to your local co-op, your Tractor Supply, wherever that might be, and getting a balanced pelleted diet. You can start with that chick starter and then migrate into that grower and layer feed. It will give you stipulations on when to switch that, but make sure, because they're going to make sure that all the proteins, the vitamins, the minerals, all the things that you need are going to be in that feed. It's okay to give your chickens a few treats and things like that, but even when you think about scratch feed, one of the main things that I see in backyard flocks is an unhealthy flock because they're feeding a lot of that scratch feed, which does not have much nutrients in it, but chickens like it. They'll eat it and they'll fill up, and then they miss out on that nutrient. So if you do, use these in small amounts and make sure that it's not their only food source. It's also fun to free range and watch them pick bugs and different things, and that is okay, but they also need to have that balanced diet available along with that free range option. If you plan to just consume your eggs, that's great. Like I said, you won't need a whole lot of hens there, and you sure don't need that rooster.
Yep.
If we're talking about eggs for just your family, you know, I've got a family of 6 that I feed, and I don't want very many hens if I had hens in the backyard, because on average, that chicken's gonna lay an egg every 25 hours. So you gotta think about that, because eventually you're gonna be overloaded with eggs if you try to put a flock of 20 or 30 hens down. If you plan to sell those, you can do so, but you need to make sure that you have certifications to do so. You can contact your Board of Animal Health and your Mississippi Department of Ag and get those certifications and stipulations on when you need those in order to sell that product. Keep in mind, this is a really fun hobby, and you can sell those products, but you're probably not going to make a killing off of that.
Yeah, you won't get rich with backyard chickens.
No, but it can be fun, and especially for youth and younger kids, it can show them that responsibility, and they get to see that return of investment on that flock if they get to sell those products. Obviously, chickens give us eggs and meat, and if you decide you want to sell that meat product, that's something that we'll be glad to help you with as well. You would still need those certifications, so you need to contact that Board of Animal Health and Department of Ag as well. And you're getting into a bigger ordeal with that. So if you decide that, please contact us and we can help you along the way. If you have any questions about anything that we've said in this video, please feel free to reach out and contact us, and we'd be glad to answer questions.
It can be a fun hobby, and people get a lot of enjoyment out of having them, but again, they're work. Think it through, make sure you're going to make the right decision. You want this to be fun for you. You don't want this to make life more stressful than it already is.
Right.
With that, we'll leave it with you. Thank you.
Thanks.